Welcome to Purewater Pictures, the studio behind the upcoming series Tales o' the River. For today's behind the scenes presentation, we look to the skies that surround the world of our steamboat friends. Here, I'll show how I figured out my method of creating the sky backgrounds and what it currently takes to put some clouds over this Mississippi River. It has always been a challenge for man to mimic God's handiwork, but with my show set in the great outdoors, my artistic skills were about to be tested. Soon after I began this project, I had many questions about building sky backdrops for movie sets, but answers were hard to find. Should I use a green screen? What about a white background with the skies projected onto it? Why not make the movie outside? All those choices seemed somewhat impractical, so I chose the old school way, hand-colored skies. When picking which art medium to use, I figured watercolors and acrylic paint would wrinkle the paper too much. But soft pastels could be evenly spread and were dry, so I tried a pastel kit to make the earlier concept illustrations of my skies. The colors showed excellent consistency, but the clouds looked too blurry. Ultimately, I chose to still use pastels for the colors of the sky itself, but returned to painting the individual clouds so they could be sharper and more detailed. I had new questions when I found the paper I'd use had to be at least 60 inches tall and many yards wide to cover my camera's view. I needed ridiculous amounts of pastel, so I had to be thrifty. Rather than buying pricey kits containing some colors I wouldn't even use, I started making pastels in my studio for the first time, using a simple recipe that involves mixing powdered pigments with a binding gel made of methyl cellulose and water. By shaping the mixture into sticks and allowing them to dry, I could create bigger pastels and produce larger quantities more economically. With all the materials ready, I would spend the coming months making my new sky backgrounds, and here is the process I used. After purchasing the paper, I'd roll it out on the garage floor and weigh it down with wooden boards on both ends. The real sky is never just one flat color. Even at daytime, it tends to be lighter toward the horizon. So to achieve this look, I drew light pencil lines along the paper to separate each color or tint. I would scrape the chosen pastels into powder and layered the colors with a napkin onto the paper in separate stripes. Next, I would mix transitional colors that would go in between my main ones, and I used these to blend the awkward-looking stripes into a clear sky. This job took at least a couple of days, and I was constantly staining my hands, the floors, the steps, sometimes even the white walls in the house. My favorite part was painting the clouds. Using smaller concept illustrations for reference, I would paint the first layer of each cloud with a primary base color, which could be purple, yellow, or white, depending on what time of day I was trying to depict. To create a sense of roundness, I applied several layers of highlight colors around the edges of the clouds. I also considered the direction of the daylight, ensuring that the highlights were positioned toward the area in the picture where the sun would be. This was the final step, and after letting the paint dry, I'd have a new sky ready for Tales o' the River. It is my hope that by taking you into our studio, Purewater Pictures presents itself as a symbol of top-quality entertainment and a beacon of light in a dark industry. As a mere man, I can't promise perfect results, especially since Tales o' the River is our first project, but I have the most perfect God beside me to guide my steps. I encourage you to subscribe to our channel today, and in doing so, you'll join the extraordinary voyage of Purewater Pictures.